Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 183 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us again. Today, we have a great guest, a regular, Roman Zelichenko, which if you're on LinkedIn, you've definitely seen, but he's active all sorts of other places on YouTube. Has a great show, GMI Rocket Show, which is part of his other business in addition to Labor List. And we're going to get into all that in the upcoming conference for digital marketing, which is a must go to. Before we start, I want to thank everybody who's downloaded and read. And you don't have to download, just go to a website and you page through it. The Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine was launched in February with a lot of success. A lot of people are reading it. I could tell with the stats, and it's wonderful. I want to thank the sponsors, IMMI Translate, Immigration Finder, Journey, and DocketWise. DocketWise in particular is also the sponsor of the podcast, a great immigration firm management software that includes forms and a lot more. If you want to get 10% off their annual plan, just go to, or additional 10% off, go to www.docketwise.com/immigration lawyers podcast and use the code immigration lawyers podcast, no dashes there, and get that. And feel free to reach out to them, let them know that you heard about them from the podcast. And with that, Roman, let's get started. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you so much. And congrats on the magazine. I think it's awesome. It's wonderful. You've been posting some stuff about it recently. And I think just the engagement is off the chain right away. I mean, this is something that the industry really kind of craves for. So kudos.
Thanks.
Congrats.
People are reaching out. I'm putting the pictures and the graphs, and it's getting a lot of attention. And it's because I did so many graphs in there. I think like those overwhelming. So now I'm like individually putting them up on LinkedIn, and it's like, oh, people are saying, oh, I didn't even catch that when I read the article. It's awesome that there's so many different ways to get the info out, which kind of goes to what you're doing about marketing. Because my marketing that I do for the magazine, the same that I would do for my law firm. I just don't have time to do for the law firm, and I'm sacrificing, it's not cannibalizing my business, or sacrificing at least. But what's going on? You decided to launch a conference, and it's coming up pretty quickly. So let us know more about that.
Yeah, so I'll give you the quick sort of backstory. My whole thing is, and thank you for the kind introduction. I used to practice immigration law, right? I broke off. I started my own immigration tech company, Labor List, which automates H-1B compliance, right? But I bootstrapped the thing. And so as I was growing it, the idea was that I wanted to build the brand and I wanted to get people to know me and what I'm doing and all that. And I started creating content on social media, specifically LinkedIn, because that's where I felt comfortable, where I felt I could share my expertise, et cetera. And slowly over the years, I've built up a really wonderful group of people within my network who really engage with my content. But during that time, I had people reach out and say, hey, Roman, I really like your posts, or I really like your articles. Do you know anyone who can help me with that? Or can you help me with it? Right. Mm-hmm. And sort of, I was running a startup and I said, sure. I mean, why not take, a little extra side job and, sort of help me continue to run my business, et cetera. And just over time, that has grown through demand and through just what I'm seeing in the market into a second business. Never intended to do this. I'm telling you, I never intended to do this. But it's grown to a second business that has been just, really rapidly, scaling because the business is GMI Rocket, Global Mobility and Immigration. Rocket, it's shooting up, let's just say, into the sky with the idea of bringing digital marketing services to the immigration and global mobility industry. And it's just one, and I don't do everything, right? But I focus on what I love and what I'm good at, which is content creation, right? So whether it's articles or, helping with short, like LinkedIn, the creative side of things, not paid ads. There's other people who do that who are great, just not what I do. So there was a lot of demand in the industry, but even still, I can only deal with so many clients at one time, right? I mean, it's not scalable.
Yeah,
you can't scale yourself. And so I started to do some group courses, which I absolutely love. I've had people in there and where we, it's a small group and we talk about stuff and kind of have takeaways and such, but still there's so many people. I mean, there's 20,000 immigration attorneys in the US and obviously around the world, there are more. And then when you bring in global mobility folks, I mean, it's a massive industry. So my thinking here was, what's the most scalable way to create an environment where people in our industry can learn about, be inspired to be active in and get better at social media and digital marketing in general. Right now, this conference is focused on social media. And so the answer for me was a conference, right? I mean, yeah. I have all these great people who have agreed to speak. I'll be a speaker as well about LinkedIn, and everyone's going to share their knowledge and wisdom about social media. And the last thing I'd say on that is, about digital marketing. And the last thing I would say about that is there are other digital marketing conferences out there. I mean, right, you think about e-commerce type of industry, events and things like that. The thing is that immigration folks and mobility folks don't go to them, right? Yeah. Because there's only so many times that out of the year that we can go to a conference, and you want to know that when you're going to a conference, the information is going to be super targeted, and that the person to your left or right, whether physically or right now virtually, is going to be someone who you can network with, right? Someone in the industry. Yeah. And so that's where this whole thing came from, a conference for our industry, geared towards or focused on digital marketing, which is really, really not touched by any other organizer in our space, as far as I've seen.
You're doing it in an interesting way. The software that you're using, could you describe how that is? Well, you explained it. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah. So, usually e-conference software, at least for now, it's changing, but it's kind of been this, you log in, there's like a drop-down menu of speakers and sponsors, and there's it obviously links to a live conversation, and there's a chat on the side. It feels like Zoom with more bells and whistles type of thing, right? A general kind of conferencing software. But number one, we're all kind of zoomed out. I mean, you're not going to have breakout sessions all day and just text with people all day. It's tough to get a conversation going, whether you're a vendor or just kind of conference goers. That's number one. Number two, it just tends to not be engaging in general, and so I think we miss out on the really fun parts about conferences, which is not just panels, but it's like walking down the hallway from, the restroom to the next thing. And then I see you coming the other way and I'm like, hey, John, hey, good. I haven't seen you yet. We chit chat for 3 minutes. And those are the things that energize us when we go to conferences. You know what I mean? And so we need the balance of that versus how draining, even if interesting, but how draining the talks are and all that stuff. So the platform that I'm using is called Gather. It's basically like a little bit of a video game, like a computer game. And whoever attends, they get their own little avatar, and we've built a beautiful custom world. And you basically with your keyboard can walk around a space, like literally walk around a space. You have to walk from one booth to another, like a virtual booth. When the characters and the little avatars get close to each other on the screen, like a live feed of the video and audio, if you have it turned on, start to fade in. I mean, it's like in real life, if you're talking and I'm walking by you in the hallway, I hear your conversation for 2 seconds while you pass me. Same thing here. So the idea was to create a virtual conference that brings in as much of the kind of excitement and magic of an in-person conference in a virtual world, plus having speakers that are, going to be dialing in through, remotely. So we have the benefits of a virtual conference with some of the features of what we miss about in-person conferences.
That's really neat. And when is the conference coming up?
So the conference is it's on March 25th and 26th. It's 2 half days. I was going to do a full day, but it's like, we're all so tired, we don't want to be on. So I figured 3 sessions a day, it's going to be recorded. So folks who can't show up to all of them, understandably, can get the recordings afterwards. But yeah, 25th and 26th of March from basically 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. But the first hour is going to be for mingling, walking around the space, exploring it, seeing vendors, running into people. It's going to be awesome. I'm so excited for it.
I should have mentioned this at the beginning. You do have a special code for listeners to get a discount on that. Hopefully listening this far into it, I can catch it.
Yeah, let me pull that up for you. 1 second.
So that's going to be exciting, and you got a lot of speakers. I mean, I saw you have Jacob Sapochnik there. You have a person from the TikTok there, one of their people that does it. Various people, and it's always good to get more information as possible from these leaders in the industry. You also have another top YouTube person, Katia, I think it is.
Yeah, Katia Pereira. She's awesome. She has a huge YouTube following and a big Facebook following too. So she's going to be actually on the Facebook panel. It was the idea that there are a handful of immigration professionals who are just crushing it on social media. And there's other digital marketing methods as well. This conference for now is just going to be focused on social media platforms, but these folks are doing really well, but there's huge hesitation in the industry to really dive into social media, right? I mean, I sit in the LinkedIn world, and that's the professional one. And even there, people are really kind of, nervous still about putting out content, and they're not sure, et cetera. So I think the idea is you kind of just want to see the people who are in your field, who are the same type of professional that you are, who are getting, achieving some level of success with this. Because I think then it's like, oh, okay, then I can do this. Isn't just for teenagers, right? Or this isn't just for, direct to consumer brands who are selling, t-shirts or body wash, right? These are for, you can be a professional services company, business, you can be an immigration lawyer, or a business within the immigration and mobility space, and still reap the benefits, and I think have the fun of social media.
I think probably next 10 years, this will be a norm. If you're not doing this, it's like weird. It's just going to take over. You have to have this online presence. The hard thing I found about it is consistency, to make it on a video on a regular basis, even like once a week, once a month. It becomes hard to do it consistently with the same enthusiasm. And I think the people who have really broke out, especially like on YouTube, we have like Katya, we have Mick Bean Law, we have Jacob Sapochnik, and for several other people. I keep track of every single person on YouTube. I have a list. But it's just a matter of consistency in doing it. That's what differentiates people with 10,000 plus and those who stay in the under 1,000 level on subscriber base in YouTube. So it's hard, but you got to do it because you really see the results. I'm hitting 7,500 subscribers on YouTube, and subscriber count doesn't really fully show what the power of it is. But because a lot of people will listen and YouTube will recommend them. They'll be regular subscribers. They won't be technically subscribed. But it's very powerful. And at this point, most of my leads are coming from YouTube. It's transitions coming in because I've stopped advertising and doing marketing and other avenues, especially paid. Which paid is good too, but for a solo practice I have, I don't need that much volume. So this stuff is enough. But yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say that just to add on to that, what I'm genuinely excited about for this conference, and keep in mind, I'm going to learn a lot too. Worst case scenario, no one shows up, and this is a really expensive all 2-day, social media event for me. But I wanted to say that it's consistency. In order to be consistent, you have to be inspired to put your time into this versus something else. And I think that the speakers will inspire people to say, all right, I'm going to put my time into this. It doesn't have to be, hours and hours and hours a week, but it could be something just as long as you're consistent. But with consistency, you also have to have at least some best practices, right? So I think the idea behind this conference is not that people are going to walk away experts. They're not, right? You need to do work to become an expert, but they're going to walk away if they're already on social media, maybe with ideas of how to like maneuver and do a little bit more. Or if they're not really on social media, then hopefully with the foundational sort of aspiration or inspiration to actually do this work, and at least some starting points in terms of like YouTube. Make sure your thumbnail is good. Make sure you start your video off with a hook instead of just introducing yourself. All of these little types of things that people can come out of this conference with to equip them to at least get started. And then of course, there's so many resources out there to get better and better over time. Last thing I want to say is that the promo code for listeners, and again, thank you for always love talking to you and being on here. It's ILT 15 off. And we'll write that you can write that in the description, but ILT for Immigration Lawyers Toolbox 15 OFF. So ILT 15 off. So folks who are listening, I hope you can join. You'll get a ton out of this. And 15% off the ticket price.
And no percentage, just like the number 15.
Yes, correct.
The hook is really important. I frequently forget to do that. That's really important. And there are people that have did paid advertising on YouTube and have grown a 7, 10, 15,000 audience. And then once they stop paying, they do videos every day. I see them and they get like very few views and very few growth. And they're literally putting all this time every day. And it's like small tweaks. I'm like, yeah, just make a thumbnail or have better lighting, or just don't sit back and be so kind of boring. Just have some liveliness and fake it if you have to. But it's like you're spending all this time doing it every day and you're seeing no growth into it. Maybe they're getting clients because of the volume of videos that they have, but they should be really twice the size or 3 times the size with all the content they're putting out. And it's a learning experience with YouTube. Every day I'm trying to tweak it and learn it. And like, it's a brain, it takes a lot of time. But then when you have conferences like this, you could like jump ahead and not have to do the learning. They do the learning for you, especially when you have people just giving it to you. So it's a wonderful experience to go through.
Yeah. Amen. I couldn't agree more. The learning curve is there and it's fun, but you and I love this stuff. That's why we can focus. A lot of people are just, for them, they want to focus on their work. They don't want to spend the hours and hours learning, but they recognize that it's, that there's some value in it. So yeah, exactly. I mean, the idea behind resources like this and what you provide as well with Immigration Lawyers Toolbox is you just help people skip ahead. I mean, the reality is that you and I and others in our industry, we didn't start off by going to the bookstore. I was going to say the library, but let's be real. We all just download stuff now and go to the immigration marketing aisle and pick out, there's nothing out there. No. So we had to read, marketing and other types of branding books for other industries and then figure out how to make it work in our industry. And I think what you and I and other people are doing are saying we should create resources, whether it's the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, podcast, et cetera, or this conference I'm doing. We should create resources for our industry that is geared, that is focused on growth, marketing, and branding, so that all the tens of thousands of immigration lawyers around, the U.S. and around the world can feel like they can control their business and not just, hope that the phone rings or hope that the referral comes in.
There's aspect of the competition where you're giving away secrets that someone else could use and compete with you. But I always say, especially in immigration, it's all about the clients and the people are helping. If we get more access to them, more information, and who knows, the more clients you get, you potentially, lower your prices or have systems that lower the prices so more people get access. Because still, most people probably don't hire an immigration lawyer, vast majority. When I'm going to interviews right now with USCIS recently, I'm out of a room of 20 applicants for adjustment interviews, I'm the only one with the lawyer there. And so it's price is a factor in all this. So if we get more immigration lawyers getting more cases and we have systems that break down price, then everyone's still going to make the same amount of money. So it's not really a competition factor. It's just helping more clients because, again, vast majority don't have lawyers. And what can we do to help that? Or at least get information out that they could use and learn about and think about before they submit their case. I had a person who had adjustment case pending when traveled overseas, and it's I didn't know you're supposed to get advanced parole. But I'm well, I have a ton of videos, and she caught it too late. Maybe if she had watched YouTube more, there's more material out there, writing blogs, all that kind of stuff, reminding people about that factor would have been a game changer for a case. But Roman, thank you so much for coming on the show. Hopefully we'll get an article in the toolbox. I did use somewhat of one of your articles in my text section. I did cite you to a certain extent.
Thank you.
And you got it. I was I need something about text. I took your article, took out the major points, and I did put a link to your article that you did about the tech changes in 2020. I did want to talk about that, but I'm running a little slow on time today. Definitely have you come back again and talk about all the technology changes in the immigration space in 2020 and how it looks for 2021, mergers, acquisitions, and new companies coming up. But you have a great show. I watched it on YouTube. I'm sure most of you watched it on LinkedIn. GMI Rocket, where you every week, I always how's he going to find another person this Friday? Because every week, consistently having people that are in this niche of tech and immigration, but you pull it out of your hat and you find a new person to interview that's different every time. Is that difficult, or do you have plans lined up?
Yeah, I've got people lined up. I generally have folks lined up about a month or two out. The nice thing about weekly is that it gives you a buffer. If you're doing daily, it's so hard to get guests, especially new guests every time. But yeah, I mean, honestly, John, one of the things is that I didn't think that I would have this many episodes. As you dive into it more, you realize that there's so many people building technology, not necessarily just case management, but there are a lot of technology or tech-enabled companies out there that are within the world of immigration, whether it's recruiting or it's a nonprofit side, or it's case management, or it's translation. For example, ImmiTranslate, one of your sponsors, was on the show. DocketWise founder was on the show, right? I mean, there are people who, there's so many people building stuff in this space, and they're relatively under the radar. So whatever I can do and you can do and we can do to sort of make the tech renaissance happen within the immigration space, I think is the goal here.
Definitely. The market for old playing cards, basketball cards, baseball cards from the 90s, I mean, just in general, is come back up because people my age are collecting those early 90s, are having their nostalgia feel. So I went and brought up my old box of basketball cards, and I've been flipping through them. Unfortunately, it seems there's oversaturated supply. So all these like Clyde Drexler and Scottie Pippen cards I have are worth 50 cents. They're worthless pretty much. But I have them next to me because I was going through them. But part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox and magazine, all the efforts I'm doing is to have immigration lawyers, highlighted and to focus on them. And what you're doing at putting on conference up there, we only had ALA, which is kind of closed to a certain extent, but I wanted, and they're not, digital forward in the sense of really just putting it out there. It's an old school system which needs to be there, and I always recommend people join ALA. But what can we do to highlight these successes? People are doing this, and that's the goal of the magazine and your conferences and the interviews. We're changing people's lives with migration. I think the story of the world historically has been about migration. Every religious community, everything that's happened, migration is a core part of it in every aspect. So what we're doing is really, holy work, in my opinion. So it's really important to highlight the people who are involved in it, what they're doing, because it touched upon every single person in the world. And so hopefully we'll have the Roman Zelichenko basketball card.
And the John Khosravi one. And just the last thing I'd say is I also just went through my own basketball cards and my Pokemon cards, which are also selling for a lot. So I'm you know what you got to do for anyone out there listening who randomly maybe feels interested in this, go get your cards rated and minted and put in those little things, because that way you can actually sell them for more. If they're just hanging out there, the edges get kind of messed up. Like people who really buy this stuff care. So I'm thinking about doing that too, maybe as a retirement fund.
I've been watching YouTube videos this week on it. They're saying it takes like PSA is taking like 6 months, forever to give it out, and it costs like $8 or $9. So the card's got to be worth it. Pokemon probably isn't, especially old ones, make more money, but these basketball cards, very disappointing. 89 to 92, apparently there was way too much supply. So unless you have a couple of Jordans, it's not worth that much, and they're really special. Which sucks. I'm like, damn, these cards are really good. This is like Clyde Drexler is a big deal, but not really. Not like, again. There's millions of them, I guess.
I guess keep holding on, keep waiting. I've got like a weird rookie Kevin Garnett rookie card that I think that actually I think I thought it was going to be worth a lot, and it was like $40, which is not nothing, but it's not like
$400 or something. Yeah. The nostalgia feel of flipping through them and like remembering the high I got when I was a kid, when I'd open a pack and get one of these was incredible. And it kind of is like gambling when you're a slot machine or something. When you hit it and you don't, is this pack gonna have it? It was kind of like a gambling high you'd get from buying a pack of baseball or basketball cards and doing it. But the nostalgia feel was nice. And I found an old photo album when I was a kid, and I showed my wife. So that was it. That was worth the while right there. Find the album of photos when I was a baby that I didn't know was there in an old box for like the last 15 years.
I love it. So for folks listening, go out there, go find your old stuff. It'll be a positive experience. Awesome.
Well, Roman, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everyone, check out the conference. I'm going to be there. And also, check out the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine. What website do they go to register for the conference?
Yeah, it's gmirocketconference.squarespace.com. Little bit of a mouthful, but next time it'll be something shorter. But this time we kind of just threw it out there. So gmirocketconference.squarespace.com.
And if you look up Roman Zelichenko, especially on LinkedIn, his page will come and it'll be 1,000,001 links. So just Roman Z Immigration, probably. Maybe that could be your name, Roman Z. I'm sure Google will take you where you need to go.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Thanks, Roman. Talk soon.
Thank you, John.